Haunting images inside Gaza, hungry children making desperate pleas for food. ABC News cameras inside a pediatric ward. Children weak, thin, and frail. The Hamas-run health ministry says dozens have died from starvation. Tragedy at Hershey Park. A 9-year-old girl pulled from the wave pool. Lifeguards trying to revive her. A bizarre moment in Florida why Chuck E. Cheese's mascot was arrested and handcuffed in front of children. ESPN reports the NFL is fining more than 100 players from roughly half the teams in the league. The players accused of selling Super Bowl tickets above face value. And America strong tonight. The 5-year-old child prodigy taking the stage at Carnegie Hall. How he got there.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this busy Friday night. I'm Lindsay Davis in for David. We begin with that breaking news, an alarming midair scare just after takeoff. A Southwest pilot taking evasive action to avoid colliding with a military jet. The Southwest flight from Los Angeles to Las Vegas dropping nearly 500 feet, passengers screaming. 2 flight attendants were injured. The other aircraft, a Hawker Hunter, a former British military jet. What we're now learning about that plane. Tonight, passengers are speaking out. One saying it felt like they were in a free fall. Another that they were shaken to the core. ABC's Trevor Ault leads us off with the details just coming in.
Tonight, a Southwest flight violently dropping hundreds of feet as the pilot tried to avoid a midair collision with a former British fighter jet.
It was chaos. There was screaming. There was just people were frightened.
It happened about 6 minutes after takeoff at Burbank Airport. The plane bound for Las Vegas suddenly dropping 500 feet when the Southwest pilot got a warning from the collision avoidance system.
There was about, I would say, an 8 to 10 second drop, a free fall. Never experienced that. It's terrifying. It shakes you to the core.
As the plane leveled off, passengers say the pilot told them what had happened.
2 to 3 minutes later, the pilots got on the intercom and told everybody that they had maneuvered the aircraft to avoid a midair collision.
Passengers say the fasten seatbelt sign was still on, but drink service was just starting.
All that I could physically see was that the flight attendant was injured. It looked to me like that she had a head injury because she had the ice pack on her head for the remainder of the flight.
It comes just days after a Delta regional jet landing at Minot International in North Dakota made a hard turn after spotting a B-52 bomber. The Air Force says that military jet seen here flying over a state fair had its location turned off and was never told about an inbound commercial jet by Minot's air traffic control. And tonight, passengers on board that Burbank flight say they're stunned.
It felt out of your control. It felt very scary. You just didn't know what it was.
Lindsay, it's not clear why that 66-year-old retired fighter jet was in the area or how close it was to that Southwest plane, but 2 flight attendants were injured, and the FAA is now investigating. Lindsay?
Terrifying moments, Trevor. Thank you. Now to the dangerous storms and life-threatening heat. More than 130 million Americans on alert from Texas to Maine. The heat index feels like temperatures more than 100 degrees across the Northeast. D.C. hitting 106 degrees today. Philly, 108. 101 in both New York and Boston. Cities sweltering. New York declaring an air quality alert. Emergency rooms ramping up. Severe storms rolling through with heavy rain, flooding, and strong winds. Floodwaters tearing through burn-scar areas, destroying at least 1 home in New Mexico. Brittany Bell has the forecast in a moment, but first, ABC's Morgan Norwood reports here in New York.
Tonight, powerful storms targeting the Northeast as millions swelter in searing heat from Philadelphia.
The extreme heat alerts are in place until 9 o'clock tonight. That's for heat indices between 105 to 110 degrees.
To Washington, D.C., our Perry Russum on the Mall, where it felt like 106 today.
Here at the Washington Monument, the extreme heat forcing the National Park Service to shut things down early today. They do not want people waiting in line in this heat with fears they could pass out.
New York City closing in on a record real temperature of 97 degrees, well over triple digits when you factor in stifling stifling humidity, dangerous and potentially deadly.
When it starts to progress into heat stroke, that's when patients typically come in and they're very confused.
Emergency rooms in New York City bracing for a surge in patients with heat stroke.
We're seeing a lot of younger patients just because they're out and about in the city, maybe not drinking as much as they should be, not hydrating enough, that are coming in just from passing out in the subway, on the streets.
The extreme heat fueling floods across the Midwest from Chicago to Kansas City. And in the West, homes washed away for the third time this month as monsoon rains slammed burn-scarred Ruidoso, New Mexico.
And Lindsay, that extreme heat combined with pollution is worsening air quality, triggering alerts for New York City and parts of the upper Midwest. Bottom line, those same groups at risk for heat illness, where they're now being told to limit time outdoors due to the haze. Lindsay?
And drink lots of water. Morgan, thank you. Meteorologist Brittany Bell from our New York station WABC joins us now. Hi, Brittany. Can the Northeast expect some relief from the heat anytime soon?
They can, but unfortunately, Lindsay, the severe weather is the price to pay for this relief from the heat. So right now, let's get right to it. There's a severe thunderstorm watch that includes most of the Northeast, lasting until 9 p.m., including New York City. Already multiple reports of wind damage, especially across New Jersey and the Hudson Valley. Now the heat is building across the Southeast this weekend through early next week. Heat indices ranging from 103 to 113 degrees. Raleigh 108 on Saturday afternoon. Even into next week, look at Memphis and Jackson on Tuesday. Heat index numbers approaching 111 degrees, even in Charlotte on Monday, 109. The flash flood threat also continues from Wichita all the way to Chicago today. Lindsay?
Brittany, thank you. Next tonight, the Jeffrey Epstein case. President Trump refusing to rule out pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, who's currently serving 20 years behind bars for sex trafficking. The president, on his way to Scotland, said, "I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about." Meanwhile, sources tell ABC News Maxwell received limited immunity for her 2 days of meetings. And what we're learning tonight about what she was asked. Here's ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katursky.
Good morning. Tonight, President Trump's refusing to rule out a pardon for Jeffrey Epstein's former companion, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's now serving 20 years in prison for sex trafficking teenage girls.
Would you consider a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell if she cooperated?
It's something I haven't thought about. It's really something. It's something I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about.
As the president spoke, Maxwell was meeting for the second day in a row with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who until recently was Trump's personal lawyer. Trump once socialized with Maxwell and Epstein. When Epstein was arrested in 2019, Trump said they'd had a falling out and hadn't spoken in 15 years. Maxwell has long faced questions.
Ask you about all the allegations that have come out, Ghislaine. Happy New Year.
When she was arrested, the president said he wished her well. Sources tell ABC News it was Maxwell who requested this week's meetings with the Deputy Attorney General and that she was granted a limited form of immunity so she could answer questions without fear it could later be used against her.
She was asked maybe about 100 different people. She answered questions about everybody. And she didn't hold anything back.
In May, Attorney General Pam Bondi reportedly told the president his name appeared in the Justice Department's Epstein files multiple times. Trump denies that briefing ever happened.
No, I was never briefed. No.
Being named is not evidence of wrongdoing. Bondi has refused to release the files despite previously promising to do so. Trump, whose top supporters, including FBI Director Kash Patel, spread conspiracy theories about Epstein, is eager to change the subject.
I'm not focused on conspiracy theories.
But the story hasn't gone away, which sent the Justice Department's #2 official to Florida to meet the woman who helped Epstein recruit, groom, and abuse girls over the course of a decade. Annie Farmer was one of the women who testified against Maxwell.
She didn't just procure girls and women for Epstein, but she herself participated in their abuse.
What Maxwell wants now, to get out of prison.
Of course, everybody knows Miss Maxwell would welcome any relief. She's been in very difficult conditions for 5 years, and so she would welcome any relief.
Her lawyer tells me she did not ask for a pardon today, and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche did not offer one. But late today, the president making clear it's not off the table.
A lot of people have asked about pardon. This is just not a time to be talking about pardons. Todd will come back with whatever he's got.
The Deputy Attorney General said, Lindsay, he would share what he learned from Ghislaine Maxwell at the appropriate time. And we should note, Lindsay, meetings like this with law enforcement officials are often recorded. Lindsay?
Aaron, thank you. Now to that urgent manhunt after a deadly shooting at the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque. One person killed, another injured. The shooting took place early this morning in student housing, and what's happened late today. Here's ABC's Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, police announcing a suspect has been captured after a deadly shooting at this student housing complex at the University of New Mexico.
Rescue 3. Respond to a 27 Bravo 5G. Gunshot.
Those gunshot calls coming early this morning. Multiple law enforcement agencies rushing to the scene, finding one person killed, another wounded.
Then all of a sudden we just heard like shots, like crazy shots. And after that, we like peeked over our blinds, and we just see some kids running, like dashing down the other side.
The university issuing a shelter in place and closing school grounds. The new semester just weeks away. Some incoming students already on campus. Members of the football team say they were staying in the dorm where the shooting happened.
I was getting back into my dorm, and they weren't letting me in because they had said that there was an open crime scene. The family had come, and they were pretty emotional. They were crying.
The good news tonight, that wounded victim sustained non-life-threatening injuries and is expected to recover. Lindsay?
Glad to hear that, Pierre. Thank you. Overseas tonight, the growing hunger crisis in Gaza. Hamas health officials say just in the last 24 hours, 9 people have died of starvation, 122 since the war began, the majority of them children. As the latest round of ceasefire and hostage release talks have failed, tonight we're learning about a dangerous U.S. military raid in Syria targeting a high-ranking ISIS leader. Here's ABC's Chief Global Affairs correspondent, Martha Raddatz.
Desperate cries for help from the children of Gaza, holding out empty pots, hoping for a ladle of soup. Anguish in their faces, but few will leave this line with any food. There's simply not enough to go around. Look at us with mercy and bring us food, this woman says. Anything for us to eat. Let the crossings open, she pleads. ABC News cameras inside this pediatric ward, and what we see is haunting. Hollow-eyed children on the brink of starvation. The faintest cries of hunger from the babies. 9 people died due to starvation just in the last 24 hours, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. American Dr. Travis Moline describing the horrors he's seeing inside Gaza's Nasser hospital.
You can see the desperation. You can, it's palpable that people need food. No one's asking for anything else right now.
Israel blaming Hamas, saying they steal food, but the IDF has limited ground deliveries, although today announcing plans to coordinate new airdrops of aid. President Trump was asked about the crisis in Gaza today. He said Israel should, quote, finish the job and get rid of Hamas after the U.S. pulled out of hostage ceasefire talks. Lindsay?
And Martha, what more are you learning about that rare and risky U.S. military ground raid inside Syria targeting an alleged ISIS terror leader?